guys, my name is Allie and you guys may know me from my TikTok, Allison Psych, and I wanted to make a YouTube video talking all about my position working in a high-risk psych ward and also answering some of your questions and comments that you guys have left in my past couple videos. Before we get into the questions, I wanted to start off by thanking you guys so much for the amount of love and support you guys have been showing in these videos. I am so shocked by the amount of support that I've been getting. It is unreal. And it is so nice and comforting knowing that I am not the only one who is so passionate about working in a psychiatric unit and just so passionate about being in a mental health field. And it's so nice seeing you guys have a career in psych. So that is exactly why I am making these videos on TikTok, and exactly why I'm making this video is because I want to give you guys some information if you guys are interested in working in a psychiatric field. So again, thank you so much for all of the support. Let's get on to these questions. Okay, so the first question I'm going to answer is, what is your position? I am called a mental health associate. What my position is I hold group therapy for my patients. I also do some behavioral treatments, processes, things like that after these groups. I also do 15-minute safety checks on my patients. I also do a lot of medical responsibilities such as monitoring their glucose levels. I do vital signs, basically any kinds of basic medical tasks that you can think of in a hospital that a technician would do is what I do. I am not considered a technician, and I'm also not considered a nurse. So I'm kind of somewhere in between both, I would say. I will go more into detail about my therapies that I hold for my patients and the responsibilities and things like that in the next couple videos, but in a nutshell, that is what I do. So Different Brand of Beans asked, hi, I'm really wondering how you got to work there. I'm really interested in psych. What did you have to study? What you have to study is basically psychology. All they required of me was a psych degree. You can get a Bachelor's of Arts, Bachelor's of Science. I also got another question, I'll leave it up here, but someone had also asked what is the difference and does it matter? It does not matter. Again, I can only speak for my unit and my hospital, but it really does not matter. I just did a Bachelor's of Arts in Psychology and I was able to get the job. So you don't need a Bachelor's of Science, or it doesn't matter if you have that. The next question I got asked is from Cass Sauce, and she asked, how was the process of getting the job you have? So the process of getting the job that I currently have is about a month-and-a-half process. It is pretty long, but the reason that it's that long is because I work with involuntary patients. So some of these patients are criminals, and there is a lot of background checks that you have to go through to be able to get the job in my unit and the hospital that I work in. This basically just goes by you filling out a regular application online, and it just asks you for basic information, what job experience have you had, things like that. After that, you get interviewed. After the interview, if you pass that, you would have to go through a series of background checks, but also you would have to go through a physical, you have to get vaccines, you have to submit some healthcare information about yourself to your supervisor in the hospital to make sure that you are okay to work there. Because of COVID going on in the state that I'm in, we were very high for COVID. We all have to get fit tested for N95s, and we also have to go through a bunch of testing done for COVID precautions. In addition to that, you also have to go through safety training. So this safety training is basically like security training. They teach you a lot of techniques to be able to be safe. If anything were to happen in your unit, you would be able to defend yourself, defend your patient, anything of that sort. And that takes about a couple days. So that in a whole is basically the process. I'll just leave them up here because I can't find it, but I'm going to screenshot them and leave them up here. But I also got asked, what kind of trainings do you need for the job? So you need to be BLS certified. What that means is basic life support. So the way I got BLS certified is just by the American Heart Association. If you just go online, I will leave links down below on some of the resources I used to be able to get my job. But if you just go online and you sign up for one of their CPR classes, you can just take them. It takes like 7 to 8 hours or like a whole day, I think. And then you just take the exam afterwards and you're certified. And then that is really it. As for trainings, each hospital is different. So my hospital, our training took about 2 to 3 weeks where they just basically train you all about the job. Some people don't have background in healthcare in general, but they went to school for psychology, so they're interested in it. So they would just go through that training to be able to assist you to learn in case you do need to use it. Bicklin7 asked, how did you get into doing this? So how I got into wanting to work in a psychiatric unit is from being a EMT. I am a emergency medical technician. I went to school for that. It took about 4 months. And I can do a whole separate video talking about my experience as an EMT, the process, things like that. But when I was an EMT and we learned a lot about different processes of the body and just different sections of healthcare and specialties that you would eventually want to go into if you were to work in a hospital, I started thinking that because I went to school for psychology, I would be really interested in psychiatry. I also want to go to medical school. That is my end goal. That is what I want as a career. And so I wanted to specialize in psychiatry. So I figured working in a psychiatric unit would be the best way that I can get experience and exposure to what I want to do. So that is exactly how I got into it. I also volunteered for 2 years at a big trauma center in one of our cities in our state. And that gave me a lot of experience and patient care exposure, which was in turn able to get me this job. So my biggest recommendation, if you're looking to work in a psychiatric unit or in a hospital in general, get some volunteer hours. That could be either through doing EMT. You don't even have to be an EMT. You could just join a rescue squad. They take a lot of younger individuals. If you're under the age of 18, you could be a cadet. You could at the rescue squad with a parent no. These are all things that'll make your resume look good, and not just make your resume look good, but also give you experience on how to handle these more difficult situations that you'll be dealing with in a psychiatric unit. T. Mika1 asked, what college courses did you take and how long did it take? So my Bachelor's of Arts took 4 years. At an undergraduate school in my state, took 4 years. I studied psychology and I minored in biology and honors. I also got asked if my biology minor was able to help me get the job, and I don't think so at all. I really think that with your psychology background and your major and any experience that you have is enough for you to be able to work in a psychiatric unit, depending on your position. College courses I do recommend if you're interested in working in a psychiatric unit. I would recommend taking abnormal psychology. It kind of gives you good insight on the different kinds of spectrums, diagnoses. So you'll learn from anxiety to depression to schizophrenia. You'll learn basically all kinds of disorders. You'll study the DSM-5. It's just a really good course and really good knowledge to have before you work in a unit. Because when your patients come in, you want to learn a little bit about their diagnoses, why they're there, some of their triggers. This is all things that you'll start to learn in your courses. The college courses I recommend is child development. So anywhere from infant to fetus, all the way up to adolescent you'll learn about. That's just the psychology. If you're looking to work in a pediatric unit, I would do that. Adolescent development is key, and I mean literally key, to working in any kind of unit, especially adult units, because although your patients are over the age of 18, their maturity level and the way they think and they process things may be at an adolescent level. So these kind of courses will help you deal and handle situations with those kinds of patients. Lastly, lifespan development. Lifespan development covers psychology and just the processes all the way up to death and grief, which is also very, very, very important. A lot of the patients that are there have trauma from past situations. They have recently lost a loved one and things are getting triggered because of it. So that is a really good course to be able to process and understand your patient and any kinds of experiences that they have gone through before going to your unit. Simone Compton asked, so how is that not a nurse? You're doing everything a nurse does plus yoga. So I loved this comment because she added the plus yoga. So some of my therapy groups, I do yoga, I'll do meditation, we'll draw, I'll really look up any kinds of activities. My favorite that I've seen the patients love is music groups. They love listening to music. It's very therapeutic for them. She's basically asking, why is that not a nurse? The reason why it's not a nurse is because I didn't go to school to be a nurse. I did not go to nursing school. I went to school to get my bachelor's degree. And in addition, nurses do a lot more responsibilities than I would do in my unit. They are able to administer medication. But if you do want to be a nurse, this is a good start for you to be able to get your foot in the door into a healthcare system. Common comments I was getting is from Casey Patel, and she said, I have a hunch you aren't paid enough for what you do. You go, girl. So I wouldn't say that I don't get paid enough for what I do. You aren't getting paid minimum wage, at least for my healthcare system, but you're also not making a ton of money, right? So you're not being like, you're not going to become like a millionaire off of this kind of position. But the point is that if that is something that you're passionate for and that is the field that you want to work in, you won't see it as a job. When I first started working in the unit, I'm not gonna lie, I was so like scared, and not scared for like safety, and I'll answer another question, but it wasn't for that reason. It was because a lot of things were new to me, and that is what's really difficult about the job. But once you start getting used to it and you start getting to know your patients, especially if you're in an inpatient unit where your patients are there for, I would say, like about a week, you'll get to know your patients really well. And once they get treatment and once you see the amount of progress they've had from day one to being discharged is one of the greatest feelings that you'll ever get. And it's a very rewarding job. And I also got what inspired me to work in a psychiatric unit, what exactly made me want to work in that kind of unit. The reason why is because I wanted a job that was very rewarding to me. I wanted a job where each day was different, that would challenge me, that would take me out of my comfort zone. That is why I do this job. And a big reason is because I have a lot of important people in my life that suffered from mental health, and I wanted to be an advocate for patients and kind of like break the stigma that psychiatric units have, that they're mean and that they're not giving their patients resources, and just a whole bunch of comments and the stigmas behind it. I want to change that, and I don't want to be that kind of worker that just comes in and gives you a glass of water and then leaves. Like, I am the kind of worker that walk about your day. I'll ask you what kinds of goals you have for the day, even though that is not my job. I'm not a doctor, you know, but I'll still ask my patients, hey, what are some goals that we have for the day? Even just getting a smile out of them makes my day and knows that I'm doing a good job. So that is exactly why I do what I do, and I can tell the difference that you make in a patient's life. The number one question that I get asked, not just on TikTok, but in the hospital in general, when I tell them what floor I'm going on, is it scary? And no, it is not scary. I would not say that I'm not constantly watching my back, like I'm all relaxed. It's not like that, but When you get to know your patients, especially before you go into their room and before you even start your shift or anything, go through the patient's chart, read why they're there, read what bothers them, what triggers them. That should all be written, and that will help you a lot to be able to deal with them and be able to speak to them. So I would not say that it is scary, and I do deal with a good wide range of patients, but I would say that it is more emotionally overwhelming than scary, because some of the things that you'll see are very sensitive. Neha asked, what unit are you on? I work on an adolescent unit. My unit is just adults 18 and above, and I work in a high-risk psychiatric unit. My patients are there for anywhere from a week to a couple days to up to a month. And this is basically like the last step before they get transferred to a long-term facility where they would be spending months up to years wherever they decide to go to, whether that's a group home, whether those are shelters, whatever the case is, that's where they would get transferred out. My unit is also partly involuntary. So I know on my TikTok, you guys see a lot of safety tips, a lot about those things. And the reason why that is because my patients have criminal backgrounds. Some of them do. And so that brings a lot into play when those things are getting involved. So what was I even saying? Oh, so my involuntary patients. So I get a good mixture of patients in my unit, but I love it. And it's constantly changing too, but the unit is more short term, so they're not there for a long time. Lee asked, why do you keep your hair up? Love you. Love you too. And the reason why I keep my hair up is for safety reasons. It's always up is because if a patient were to pull on it, like loose, and they're pulling from down here, I also have long hair, so that is a lot of tension on your scalp. Rather, if it's closer to your scalp, it won't hurt as bad or it won't be as painful. So that is exactly why I choose to keep my hair up. It's not a policy. I just choose to for safety reasons. Okay. Someone asked about the last video, how about piercings? So for my hospital, you are allowed to have piercings. It's not a policy that you can't have piercings, but I would not recommend it because, again, the same thing goes with the hair pulling. They'll want to pull out your earrings or your necklace, and I would just recommend don't have any jewelry in them, or at least have it not be visible. So that way you're looking out for your safety and your patient can't use anything to harm themselves. So that's another thing. So that is the last question for this video. If you guys have any kinds of questions, please leave them down below. I will do my best to answer them. I will leave my TikTok listed down below if it doesn't get banned by tomorrow. But for that reason, that's why I wanted to make this YouTube video. I will also have my Instagram listed down below. I've had some of you guys message me on there, and that is actually where I respond the quickest because they're constantly appearing on my phone. So I'll have that linked down below if you guys want to reach me through there. Yeah, that is all. I have ideas or topics that you want me to talk about, just leave them down below. Definitely do them. But I think that is it for this video. Thank you guys again so much for the amount of support that you've been showing me. It is unbelievable, and I am in so much shock and so grateful and appreciative. And please subscribe, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!